Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to give this talk on results-focused project leadership. I'm Dr. Lind Grant-Oyeye for those who do not know me or might be wondering. When we hear the term project management, we might be thinking of government project, but remember that it could be any form of activity or change, for example, organizational, personal, even in terms of wishing to help society in one way or the other. There is no one set of definitions for what it actually means, but we could work with this, which is that project management is the application of planning, controlling, and monitoring processes to endeavors undertaken to create unique products or services. So this tells us that there's some structure needed when it comes to executing or planning a project. At the end of this session, you would leave with an understanding of the importance of strong leadership in effective project management and also be able to explain the importance of stakeholder engagement and the process involved in this, including the need for effective communication, and that you'll be able to apply tips you learned from this session in your personal, organizational, or societal life in terms of managing change. Theory is one thing, but to be able to really break it down, we're going to use a case example, which is the Benin Museum of Art project, which has been having some challenges. Here's an overview of what this project was supposed to be about. It's supposed to showcase the cultural heritage of the kingdom, also highlight some of the historical artifacts and some international connections regarding even getting back some of the artifacts that were taken away in the past. So it was supposed to be a center for cultural education and the preservation of the rich legacy of the Benin Kingdom. It's not unusual for an endeavor such as a project to run into challenges which could be foreseen, planned for, or unplanned for. So these are some of the highlights of the difficulties that this particular museum project has faced. Their funding issues, cultural sensitivity, and then political and institutional barriers. The process of effective project management involves various steps and structures, as I have earlier highlighted. And one of them is to map out the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the key players, the people who are interested, either by virtue of their connection with the project or direct or indirect influence on the project. And it's important to separate them into those that have high power or high interest versus those with low power, low interest, in the sense that it guides your planning. For example, the type of communication that you're going to provide to those with high power, high interest would be different from those with low power and low interest. Take an example. For example, this project that we are studying, the Benin Museum one, high power, high interest groups would be like the Edo State government, the Federal Ministry of Culture, the Oba of Benin as the royal of that kingdom. So in that case, if you were executing such a project as this one, you would pay a lot of attention to this group of individuals versus the general public, media, or occasional tourists. Some of the situations that might pose difficulties is the failure to identify who the correct project owner for a particular venture is. For example, there are alternate and options for this particular one that we are studying. So being able to identify the person who has influence, able to bring everyone together, is going to push for fundraising, and also lobbying various people or directing lobbying and connections in that way. For example, for this particular one, the possible owner could be the Minister of Culture, a board of trustees, or a director that has been designated as a pre-planned director to oversee things and connect everyone together. The project owner is usually separate from the project manager. The project manager brings in the skills, the leadership in terms of theory and practical knowledge to be able to support everyone, all types of stakeholders, and support the project owner. So if you were to look at it in the political sphere, a project owner would be a It's important to use structured measures, whether in terms of measuring success or even in terms of the process. And one of these is using and applying change models. For example, we have the ADKAR model here, whereby it's important to understand what's the level of awareness of the individuals, because you might say, oh, this is a project that we are supposed to undertake. One person thinks it's supposed to meet a particular need, while another person thinks it's for something else. Let's take tourism, like this project. Some people might think, oh, it's for tourism, but another person is focused on the heritage part of it. So that's why it's important to create an awareness of the reality of what this particular issue or project it's about. Also, when it comes to ability, like sometimes we bring people together and say, okay, let's undertake a particular venture. This case that we are studying, it's important to train people on fundraising. There are tested ways of being able to raise funds effectively. Also, it would be interesting to know that if there was anyone who had training, more in-depth training um, on seamlessly connecting culture heritage with some modern issues that might arise in terms of creating a facility such as this. So training is very important. There are various change models out there. You could pick which one you feel would apply to your particular situation. And sometimes it's okay to mix and match depending on what you believe works best. The important thing, it's been structured in the process. There are different measures when it comes to executing a project that it's important to consider depending on the type of project you are undertaking. But generally, a measure of success includes, is it on time, on budget, in scope, right quality, satisfy stakeholders, and is the benefit that was planned delivered. So, in conclusion, we have discussed some highlights and important aspects that underscore effective project management. And these are some of the take homes that it's important to know that resource optimization comes with good planning, and that you may encounter challenges. However, be open in terms of adapting to the changes, and also be structured. That's the important aspect of success, and continue monitoring other aspects such as stakeholder engagement, collaboration, and general sustainability of the venture.